you into little pieces. I'll carve the terror of death into your pathetic body!
Syllabus invites Haseo and Gaspard on the dubious dog quest, which is a request by Dingo. Yes, the first side quest made available to us is the one that nets Haseo his advanced hunter's license. There are two things wrong with this. One, most of the time this happens in the middle of the game, and for good reason. Player killers and chaotic PKs are always high-level characters, so encountering them should always thematically occur when one is getting up to comparable strength. While it makes it easier to farm them once you have the license, it's not a good idea until then. By doing it this early, it makes it seem as though the chaotic PKs have become an afterthought, so it might as well let you start hunting them down as soon as you can to be done with them. The second involves spoilers, and only occurs if you killed all of the blacklists. And by defeating every, and I do mean every, chaotic PK, and you check the forums, you then have a chance of beating their queen, the most powerful player killer to ever step into the world. And it's not quite who you'd expect. If you've experienced the series since .hack's sign, you'd recognize and think it would be Kauton in the Shadows, the player that in R1 shared the same character model as Subaru, and assaulted said woman for daring to share a similarity in appearance, who now happens to be one of the executive chaotic PKs of R2's Sigma server. But it's not. Instead, it's Natsume. Yes, that Natsume. Having taken the name the Edge Maniac, she still wields the Spiral Edge Twin Blades, a symbol of the kindness once shown to her by Kite, that over time has become twisted. Oh, the connotations of that. Pyrrhus in an exchange infers that she has been stalking the real-life Kite offline for 7 years. Conversation and email chains confirm that obsession, even though she denies it. Honestly, I think she just bottled up all the frustrations from the lack of "Senpai, notice me!" and comes online, kills people as a chaotic, and then forgets about it when her emotions cool down. No, seriously, she is completely unaware she is a chaotic PK, thinking a hacker programmed her inventory to spontaneously generate loot, which she'd actually been getting off the corpses of her victims. Now, you think there might be an interesting subplot revolving around helping her, like the rest of the cast, in getting over her issues, or as a sounding board that helps her get over them herself, making another member of the Hackers part of the team, which would allow us, once we save Alcade, to have a full party of Twin Blades. No! Because the reason giving us the license at near the beginning of the game is wrong is because even if you eliminate every chaotic player killer before you hit level 110, encounter her, and are possibly able to beat her, she will not be able to become a party member until after the end of the game. That's right. Natsume is GU's version of Sora from the core games. Someone you can only recruit with special unlocking conditions, but only given after the main story is over with. Oh, we have other post-game stuff we can use her in, yeah, but by that point you've invested so much time in other characters, it seems pointless to not use those characters for those events. This is also the only thing Pyrrhus really does this game, making his entire run of appearances in GU ultimately pointless as they added effectively nothing. If we did not need the game clear flag for her to show up and join us, I wouldn't have a problem with this. Hell, having another legacy character back would have been awesome. But that is part of why Redemption is the weakest part of this trilogy. It doesn't think some of these things through. I like to think of this as proof Kite's in a relationship with Black Rose, as if he's available. Why doesn't she just make contact and ask him out? Blatant fan theory, but as there isn't much attention paid to her or them, I don't see why it wouldn't fit. Anyways, Dingo's quest is to find and eliminate a Heatwave Hound. This showcases the first of the two final GU field map types, a dungeon styled after a set of decaying and invasive plant-infested ruins. Essentially the Helheim Forest. I don't know why, but these areas never really appealed to me. The quest is otherwise unremarkable, aside from a few moments of schadenfreude concerning Gaspard's unrelenting naivete.
There's nothing here. And even if there were something dark and creepy lurking around here, I'm an experienced high-level warlock. I'm not afraid of some stupid dog monster.
Congratulations, Gaspard! You've just been nominated for an MMO Darwin Award! After that, Pi wants to talk to us over in Wald Uberlisten. With Sakaki in control of the Serpent of Lore, he can see everything going on in the servers. So, they have to get off the grid. Yes, this is where area hacking becomes a regular feature of the system through the use of newly installed data searchability. By pushing R1 outside of battle, you can ping the area and find hidden distortions. In general areas, after encountering a glitch, these reveal hidden items such as cheat codes. But in special circumstances, they allow us access to the outer dungeon, the final field type. Areas the system has formed in the wake of Ida's degradation to be a boundary between the game, the greater internet, and the sea of data. And as such, they can meet and freely talk here without having to worry about Sakaki. The six meet to discuss the situation, rehashing it for the audience. Pi deciding to spend some time finding Yara, while Adelie confirms that from here on out, she's against Sakaki, concluding with Haseo's kind of redundant speech that he's going to see this all through to its end.
I'm not going to run away from the world. When I don't know myself at all.
And while it's a nice sentiment, it's missing something. Like it's not cohesive to the rest of the things brought up. It'd fit the scene better if they were starting to feel demoralized, but that's not present here. As we head back to the desktop, we get an idea of what Sakaki has planned, focused on the creation of a special tournament to replace the normal stage palace matches. A PK tournament. In that the players with the highest kill counts, no matter the medium from which they were gained, will become qualified to enter. Some can infer from this that all of Sakaki's pontification towards the Moontree ideals are complete and utter bullcrap. And they are, but there's another way to see this. As I said before, Sakaki's methodology was promoting a cycle of victimization that Moontree originally was trying to subvert. Also, he could twist people affected by cyberbullying into being his minions. So, what if he's repurposed that through this tournament? As part of the advertisement of the tournament, Sakaki's enabled player killing and fights to occur not just in the areas and arena, but the root towns as well. The places formerly the safe havens from player killers are now given carte blanche. Because of him, there is no safe place from this cancer that finally seemed to be falling into remission. Why? To drive people's emotions higher. As has been established, Ida seeks out concentrations of emotions. By using Ida, Sakaki can manipulate emotional states, which is made easier when people are being driven by them, making them more suggestible and capable of being indoctrinated. By allowing the player killers to have effectively free reign in lead up to this event, he focuses the people's hate on them and prostrates himself as the good guy, the savior of the world which shall be worshipped, by sending Ida PCs into the tournament to kill them, rendering them lost ones, forever vanquishing these villains which no other forces could do. It's actually, all things considered, a pretty brilliant plan. Made more genius by one of the details of the tournament being that a large prize of real money would be given to the winners, inciting even those that are not player killers by trade, just normal players who are in great need of such, to attack their peers, inciting more chaos Ida can feed off of, and overall more negativity Sakaki is long experienced in subverting towards his own gain. And with CC Corp blackmailed into yes men, this has all been improved. Made all the worse by the revelation that Taihaku, the Sage Emperor and current strongest player in the world, has been taken over by Ida, and is one of Sakaki's playthings, as shown when Sirius calls us to Lumina Cloth. He's the strongest because of what he received from the Herald AI in the Forest of Pain. The sword he wields, Maxwell, rendering all skill-based abilities unusable for periods of time, both of which are central tactics in getting ahead in the arena. But that gift is also the source of his Ida infection, becoming symbolic of Harold Horwick's greatest creation being warped and sullied by others' negligence and abuse. And the Ida that's within it, showing how far Ida itself has been twisted. It's not inherently aggressive at all. but because the various Ida are all interconnected, one doing that affects the rest. The Ida in Ovan can be contained. The Ida cat was benign and content with Endrance's affections and deeds without rendering people comatose. But now, there's no sense there's any inhibition from fulfilling its desires.
Does it have to be human? Feed me. Does it have to be mine? Feed me. Where am I supposed to get it? Feed me, Seymour.
Sirius has shown Haseo this, because what he did while infected still haunts him, and with his friend going down the same road he did, it's not something he wants to see again, hoping Haseo can work to undo it before it's too late. And this also brings up more forced of pain stuff in Taihaku and Roots' relationship that doesn't really exist. Again, the many fuck-ups of Roots. And of course, Sakaki sends Haseo an invitation. In-universe, it's justified that unlike his character, the kill counts from his time as the Terror of Death were never reset, and along with all the PK hunting he's been doing in the various arena battles, he's a shoo-in. But to make sure he complies and enters, he twists the knife by threatening to go back on his deal with CC Corp concerning Ida's spread, and make everyone he can suffer if Haseo doesn't come under heel. Because who better to make the central villain of Sakaki's little farce than the entities he derides as lower than PKs, the ones even the player killers hate. The game's most infamous player killer, and one that has always openly been Sakaki's enemy. Hell, this whole thing has a tinge of a personal attack on Haseo, simply due to his efforts having more impact and credit given to calling the player killers than any other faction, including his own. And like in Rebirth, where Sakaki's actions led to player killers targeting Kennard to subvert his proclamations, it happens again, once more showcased as little more than thoughtless, unintended side effects to what he set in motion. And as the pair are analogous to the common player that are simply affected as byproducts, Gaspard's emotional reaction is supposed to be reflective of their thoughts and feelings. Hell, that's also seen on the boards, that this farce is the wet dream of an adolescent, so they really are not alone on this. Hell, a lot of players legitimately consider just straight up quitting if CC Corp is going to pull this crap. The irony is, that isn't just talk. The Sage Palace PK tournament would be the moment cited that spelled the doom of the World R2, inciting a mass exodus from the player community that would never recover. The game's servers taken down not long after the GU series story events would conclude, and nothing they put out after would see the love and appreciation R1 or R2 once held. Kind of reflective of the real-life CyberConnect, in a way. And if the situation is not bad enough, in another Outer Dungeon meeting, the idea is broached that, since there has been very little open objections to everything that's happening while players are online, there's a possibility that the players are subconsciously being nudged to not consider anything wrong. Meaning the system infection may be reaching the point that the entire game is turning into a massive IDA server. It's one that festers, as amongst the people joining the tournament are Matsu and Antares, who all received invites and see nothing wrong with, well, any of this. But also joining,
These two
are the ones that killed Haseo on his first day. And they've gotten so many kills before and since him that they've entered simply by legitimacy of number, completely unaware of who Haseo is, nor their prior relation, nor what they set in motion that day over a year ago. So yeah, this is shaping to become an outright grudge match forged from the entirety of Haseo's time online on every conceivable level. The only thing good that comes of it is, ironically, the shift in Gaspard. As before, he'd quiver in fear at the merest sign of a player killer. But now he's been inspired by association with Haseo to not let them win. To not let them change how he plays the game. He's going to open shop Acorn in Brigapona, and come hell or high water, he's going to keep that shop open, in defiance against everything Sakaki is making the world into.
I won't give up! No matter how many times they PK me, I won't give up! I'm just gonna go ahead and do what I do best.
And that's the mark of a good influence, in how they inspire others to be better than they are. Mail gives us a bit more of their reasons. Matsu in it to try and help Moontree, while Antares is in it more for the sake of the game itself, as the first emperor of the arena system. Kun calls us to try and decide on a team to enter with Ad Sigma Clan Betrayal's Longing, as he's certainly on board for that as a steam gunner. However,
I won't be joining you this time.
And they just walk off, Saku gloating at how they've parted ways. Which is a big damn curveball considering, well, since he asked for his help, Endrance has been sticking like glue to Haseo whenever he can. So to barely say anything since the game opened, it's striking, and seems like a big blow to their efforts since, well, Endrance is a strong, experienced player that's eliminated more opponents in cutscenes than any other. Hell, a later email by him is likewise as confounding at the time, making one wonder what happened. But that doesn't mean all hope is lost. Adeli's pretty adamant about being their third, and when the dangers of Ida are brought up this time...
Please. Please give me strength to protect everyone I can. I'm right here. Ines!
She reveals her connection to her phase is more than strong and controllable enough now for her to not be a burden.
I'm through having to be protected by everyone all the time. Sakaki. If I take my eyes off him now, I can't go forward anymore.
And by that, it's taken to mean that, like I said in Reminisce, if she's unable to confront her abusers, she can't get past what they put her through, and now she won't have that.
Come on, accept it. You have to. Adeli.
Yes. If there was a stronger cleric, you would have chosen that person and not me.
I need you.
Right, let's do it.
And with that, my preferred team for playing the games is now the one we are free to enter the tournament with. Unknown Mortuary Shades Rite is the first piece in Redemption's Abyss quest, which you should have done the other parts to as it's necessary for carryover. The Vital Vistas this time performing a ritual intended to bring forth the ultimate expression of pain and suffering to the world. They're going to make people sit through .hack gift? Those monsters! They retreat after sensing the terror of death. However, it is once more time to brave the horrors of the most despised mechanics of the world once again. Yes. Goblin Tag! I'm kind of glad this opened this early, as the King Shim cheat still works, meaning you get your stash of advanced items really early, and it includes that skill EXP doubler. As before, Kafu's had a bike part stolen by the goblins, and you need to race a lot of them to get it back. The difference is, this one is ridiculously easy. And I know, last time was a hell of a lot better than the core game's tag matches, even with its difficulty. But this time you can harvest Chim to take the speed advantage away from them by putting the bike into overdrive. Combine that with high traction tires, and while it can still be a challenge, it's not an unreasonable one. Matsu invites us on a quest next, the one that reactivates Bigman and is infuriatingly difficult to distribute flyers, wanting an escort into a dungeon to find new inspiration to his art. And just as I said the word, I can already tell every gamer watching this groaned on reflex, as escort missions are notorious across the medium as being some of the worst programmed side quests in existence. Unclench. He only shows up in the cutscenes, like every other time before this. In specific, trying to capture the grunties in their native splendor.
All right then, start up the music now. Let's get this party started already.
What the hell are these things? Thank sanity, a monster attacks to end this quest. I feel there's some lost potential here in the character story, as it's obvious Matsu intended this as a warning/training session for the coming rounds, but there really isn't anything of substance to it. It's at this point I track down the doppelganger for the 4th time, and with the sleep near strategy in play, it only takes one avatar awakening to kill him, and get us the bygone servant key item, the 4th of such items which you need for the next encounter when it comes. And I do that mainly because it's a good judge of how prepared you are for the first match, because Sakaki pulls his traditional fast ones. As expected, the tournament is mainly populated with the chaotic PKs, but the twist is there are more seeds in this tournament than the others. In the extra matches, Sakaki is all placed one after the other against Haseo. The context to this is obvious. Sakaki is a well-known anti-PK activist, with activist in air quotes. So by delivering the PK's most despised enemy to them, it shifts focus off of his long-standing slandering of their form of fun and to being a witness to attempts to take down Haseo. Sakaki's turning of the arena into a localized IDA server, as confirmed by Adeli's ability to sense IDA, working to instantly validate his position with them, none the wiser to his manipulation. Effectively scamming even more people to believing he has a legitimate position of power and point of view, when he's truly a vindictive, deceptive monster spewing hate speech from a perspective solely rooted in ignorance and megalomania, and putting it all on the internet where he can gain praise and unwarranted followers. Why does that sound familiar? And sure enough, though the opponents are previously defeated chaotic PKs, the matches go like clockwork, Sakaki slinking off, as this was merely a warm-up to what he has in store. Matsu and Antares are reported to have won their matches, but we get a report of trouble from Sirius's match. For as predicted, Sakaki has entered a trio of ringers, all infected by IDA, to take down the worst and most defiant offenders. This is Team Hetero. Stop laughing! And they just made Sirius a lost one.
IDA has amplified the emotions of all the competitors. And yet, this is the best they can do, driven by those lousy emotions. It's rather funny.
Gee, it's almost like emotions are not the end-all, be-all to who a person is, and those who rely on emotional manipulation are easily recognized and called out by mature, sane, informed individuals. There's that feeling of deja vu again.
They are the Hetero Trio! They are infected ones, to whom I have granted power. They are the bearers of true strength, who will crush your pathetic human emotions.
You do realize you're announcing this to the entire stadium, right? I mean, I know they've become enthralled, but this would kind of tip people off to that if they're not that far gone. But it gives a better idea of the stakes. Sakaki already said that this was his end goal last game, but now we see more of how he plans to put it into effect. And it's all because CC Corp wear their selfish asshole selves. And it's not like the normal IDA rampancy with these guys either. No, Sakaki couldn't control those. He's injected facets of IDA into them, so they're little more than sentient puppets. This actually gels a lot with what we had seen from Online Jack and the Doll Syndrome kids, and what Sakaki did to Adeli. Broke them to while they poured out the emotion that stated the IDA, he could command them however he wished, even though it's divergent from the IDA infections we had encountered before. Kaede contacts us, wanting to talk to Haseo and Pai in Sigma Y's Calamity's Waterhill, the Pinkette returning from her search for Yada to see what she and Zelkova wants. It's pretty much just a pointless diversion to tell them they're worried about what Sakaki's doing, hoping their efforts can avoid a repeat of the Nightmare of Moontree, and that Zelkova is quite aware of the outer dungeons, quite impressed with Pai's coding ability in accessing them. To the point he hacked himself into Pai's personal cell phone to send her the message that got her here. There's this big lingering question of who Zelkova is. Well, it's far more appropriate to discuss even later. The fact that we never learn in the context of the games themselves is kind of a bitter pill, all things considered. You thought with how much he's more in the shadows and yet involved, may think that the discovery of his identity would be a magnificent revelation. We're given a cutscene that alludes to what Entrance is planning, as Sakubo approaches Taihaku, while we're directed towards the second round, putting us against Asta and Ioten. And you knew this was intentional. Not just because of that personal grudge, but simply because of the character of these two individuals that support Sakaki's view of the lot. For as we learn,
We've been quite bored just hunting the beginners.
they've never moved on from what they had been doing. Each and every kill that has warranted their place in this tournament has been new, first-day players they've deceived, bullied, and preyed upon, attacking them because they are defenseless, weak, easy pickings. And you can guess how easily that pisses Haseo off. As I said in the Roots reviews, yes, we're going back to that, the insane terror of death, who could be in and of himself a chaotic PK, was not the one we were supposed to be seeing. He was supposed to have a hatred of PKs born of his experiences with them, and perception that the one who killed Shino was a PK, being disgusted by their pointless self-indulgent preying on the defenseless victims, and consumed by the fruitlessness of his hunt as he killed and countered their sociopathic indulgences en masse into a bitter, angry, self-focused individual we opened Rebirth with. But even after he got reset, his reputation would still stand, so these bullies that did nothing else would know the terror of death, and to not pick on the weak just because they could, as they would be eliminated with the same prejudice. And the player killers in this game are ultimately analogous to bullies of one's life. So, to quote someone else on the subject, bullying never really ends. But even then, as long as the cycle is small enough. No, as long as every victim can look up and know that somewhere, somehow, those responsible are not going to get away with it, maybe that's enough. Enough that they can find the courage to stand up and act in defiance to their own persecutors and become strong enough to overcome them. But these two are proof that everything Haseo did not even touch them. Despite how he's personally experienced their cruelty, they do not respect death. They do not acknowledge the weight of their actions. They have not conceptualized the meaning of the act. They do not see their cruel callousness as anything more than a game. Now that they are before him, he's tempted to correct that. Haseo threatens to lose control in a way we haven't seen since he fought Magus.
Hate, 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 hate! Hate! And spread that hatred everywhere! Kill them! Finish them off with your avatar! Don't hold anything back! Drown in the power of your emotions! Cut, pierce, rip, sever! Cut, cut, cut to your heart's content! That is your true nature! It's who you are!
Yes. Kill them. Unleash Scathe. Destroy all who oppose you. Everything that gets in your way. Every enemy fallen. Their life taken. Their power devoured. No one is strong enough to challenge the Reaper. Prove it. You have the ability. You can cleanse this world of this filth now and for all time. It's what you're good at, right? It's all you're good for. That's all the terror of death is.
Haseo.
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 Haseo!
Haseo. Mr. Haseo.
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 You understand nothing.
What?
I won't go back to being the terror of death!
This is more than a defiance of Sakaki. It's a refutation of that identity he had in its entirety. Because it doesn't represent who he is, what he values, or the lessons he learned. Haseo, real Misaki, has changed. Now he has purpose, meaning, a reason to fight. And because of that, he'll never fall astray again. Sakaki can goad, plan, and really do whatever he wants. But he'll never be able to control Haseo like he wants to. The intentions of the tournament narrative-wise is much like in Rebirths. But while there, it was teaching him what he needed to move forward. Here is to showcase through action the results of the journey Jiyu has put Haseo through, by testing those facets and how strongly they have become ingrained into his psyche, how he has matured, changed into a better person. And this moment shows he's learned that he's not the judge, jury, or executioner of those he despises. Though, as Sakaki's so focused on taking revenge on Haseo and putting his machinations in order, he's not really given attention to keeping Ida contained and the populace unawares, as not only has the general player population caught on, the government associations keeping people aware of viruses have taken notice of it, and already correlated it to reports coming in about the world at a rate that infers that a different regime is in place than the one in the incident 7 years ago, as they never caught on. It's showing again how critical the duties CC Corp hired Yada to do, but fired him from without cause were. That though he wasn't showing progress, the situation was not devolving. But then again, when has CC Corp not done something that inevitably leads to self-destruction?